Hello, welcome to the self-learning platform by Dr. Sushma Singh. Today we start Unit 1, Peace and Conflict Studies, Nature and Scope. We start with topic conflict analysis and conflict management. And we will discuss structural conditions, traditional management strategies, dispute settlements and conflict resolutions, conflict transformation, and peace building. The first one is structural conditions. Conflict emerges from the pursuit of incompatibility goal, which can intensify struggle between the opposing forces, especially in the absence of collaborative problem solving mechanisms. In conflict situations, resources are mobilized to force the other party to change their behavior according to one's own wishes. Mismanaged conflict turns into violence, causing mass destruction. Peace, as already mentioned, does not necessarily mean absence or suppression of conflict. Rather, peace theorists accept conflict as a normal part of human life and international relations. The goal of peace analysts is to determine how to manage and resolve conflict in ways that reduce the possibility or the level of violence without diminishing other values such as justice or freedom. Many lasting internal and international conflicts have their roots in structural injustice. Serious conflict is embedded in an inequitable social and economic system, reflecting prolonged exploitation supported by coercion, the destruction of cultural identities, political autonomy, and economic sustainability for the weak has been associated with the imposition of dominant power situations. This was reflected in the rule of European empires in many colonies in Africa and Asia, with their superior military power in the past centuries. Due to their different power status, parties have opposing interest in maintaining the system. Those in a disadvantaged position demand a new set of relationship when they begin to perceive the situation as unjust and exploitative. However, until some form of serious challenges is made either violently or non-violently, those benefiting from the status quo has little incentive for taking the issue raised by the underprivileged seriously. While reform may be proposed to meet some of the concerns, conflict can also be suppressed by the use of physical violence, consequently reinforcing one party's will over another. Maintenance of coercive instruments is legitimatized by the state by citing or even manipulating public fear of disorder, threats of punishment, and adversarial institutions become major characteristics of an elite controlled society, suppressing the collective identities of marginalized peoples who attempt to pursue self esteem and autonomy. Hegemony is maintained by institutionalization of power relations and maintaining values which serve the interest of elites. Resilience in modern society arises out of various forms of alienation derived from social control in everyday life. The absence of legitimatized structure and policies, along with increasing inequalities of income and opportunity, serves as the primary source of conflict. Once basic assumptions about the traditional concepts of law and order as the common good are questioned. The right of the government to rule and to expect obedience is itself at the root of the conflict. The second point is traditional management strategies. In the traditional management of conflict, our judicial system and the wider public administration system are mostly concerned with the preservation of the status quo and the maintenance of existing institutions, because those in power tend to interpret challenges to their authority in terms of enforcement of order. Conflict management is largely seen in terms of social control designed to minimize the challenge to the core values of the system. Efforts are made to frame conflict behavior within the recognized set of rules of social order. The existence of underlying conflict can even be effectively denied for legitimizing power inequality. Conflict management in a traditional setting helps reinforce coercive policy by conforming to dominant social norms. In politically oppressive societies, demands for autonomy are answered by coercive responses rather than negotiation of new relationships. The legitimacy of the existing order is eventually challenged by the refusal to accommodate alienated communities where participation is denied because of social categories. In the long run, deterrent strategies relying on the threats and punishment have limited value in maintaining social control, with resistance triggered by the repression of aspirations for cultural identity, security, and recognition. The next point is dispute settlements and conflict resolutions. Dispute settlement approaches are based on legal mechanisms and conventional negotiation to settle disputes by finding compromise solutions. By sorting out different within an existing system, dispute settlement contributes to the stability of society with the confirmation of legitimate role of the accepted norms, values, and institutions in everyday life. Dispute settlement mechanism could not be applied effectively to the resolution of value and identity conflict. It is entirely possible to resolve an incompatibility without touching the actors and their relations. Compromise can be accomplished without regard to examining the conflict formation process itself. The actors continue to remain with their structure basically untouched. In contrast to dispute settlement that focuses on other suspicion and distrust between adversities, conflict resolution goes through a far more complex process. In adversarial bargaining, conflict is often considered by antagonists as a zero sum situation in which the gain of the one is the loss of the other. Collaborative problem solving approaches can be adopted to find a solution that benefits both parties. Analyzing the roots of problems reveals complex behavior relationship. Discovering the substantive matters beneath underlying issues can be an initial step towards collaborative problem solving. Conflict resolution prevents the reoccurrence of future conflict by evolving satisfying conditions to be acceptable to all parties. The next step is conflict transformation and peace building. For a constructivist transformation of conflicts, it is necessary to identify and consolidate support structures that tend to strengthen peace. Positive opportunities can be enhanced through the awareness of mutual dependence on one another, changing psychological dimensions of adversarial relationship, supported by the opportunities to understand different views, is undoubtedly an inevitable part of the movement towards conflict de escalation. Moreover, efforts to end hostile, competitive, and coercive processes would be fruitless if one party of domination continues to be allowed. Newly forged relationships have to be supported by structural transformation of social conditions. In a transformative framework, identity and power relations continue to be renegotiated in an ongoing process of resolving conflict. Dynamics of conflict are not likely to be transformed toward resolution by an attempt to protect existing interest. Re-establishing a status quo would not dramatically change conflict relations. In transformative perspectives, roles and relationships have to be redesigned in the process of restructuring the patterns of transactional and intersectionals. Resolving conflict in transformative perspectives has to be geared towards helping the underprivileged break down of the discriminatory social role assigned to them within the status quo. The existence of injustice in asymmetrical conflict structures requires strategic to deal with power imbalance situations. Social change for promoting justice by which conditions for decent human life can be established is the most appropriate means for peace building. Thus, peace building is largely equated with the construction of a new social environment that advances a sense of confidence and improves conditions of life. Living in abusive and dependent relationship intact is incompatible with peace building. Conflict transformation can underscore the goal of peace building through empowering a marginalized population exposed to extreme vulnerability in such a way to achieve self sufficiency and well being. The successful outcome of conflict transformation therefore contributes to eliminating structural violence. Here we want to wind up this lecture. Thank you so much for your attention.